Good morning. I hope everybody is having a fantastic day. Um, it's Tuesday in Virginia. It's primary day. We have a statewide primary. But the first thing I wanted to say is if you ever get a chance to foster a litter of puppies and a mother, it's quite an experience. My wife and I fostered a mother beagle and six little puppies. They were about 5 weeks old and we had them for 2 weeks. Now they're, I think they're going to be, yeah, they're going to be 8 weeks old tomorrow. So the adoption coordinator came and picked up those six beautiful beagle puppies, and we think they're purebreds. We can't tell, obviously, because we don't know who the father was, but I think the mother came from a paper mill, a puppy mill. I mean, it looked like it was one of those cases. All the beagles have, the long ears and um, they have the little freckles on the front paws, the white tip. All of them except one had a white tip on the tail. So they sure look like purebreds or pocket beagles. I think they're the mother is a bench leg beagle. Anyway, that was rewarding. The adoption coordinator took the six puppies yesterday, so we still have the mother here. She's a little out of sorts, but she's doing okay. She's really taken to my wife, and she howled when my wife left to go to she had to make an errand up to a town about 20 minutes from here. And the beagle just howled. She's still afraid of me, but she lets me take her on a walk. But I think she was abused by a man before. But she'll warm up to me. I got her some treats. I'm hoping that does the trick. Um, she's going to stay with us until she's heals from nursing, and then she's going to get spayed and then put up for adoption. And once she recovers from the spay surgery, she'll be adopted. There's already the lady at the shelter said there's already a family interested in adopting her. She's a small bench leg beagle. Anyway, enough on that. Fostering dogs is a rewarding experience. It's sad to see them go, but it's all for a good cause, and you free up space in the shelter for dogs that are immediately available. So I don't know, I guess you call it giving something back to the community. But nevertheless, today is primary day, August 4th in Virginia. We have a Republican Party for the United States Senate. There are three people on the ballot: Bert Misusawa, who's a retired Army general, and Kim Farrington, who is, I think she's from the Culpeper area. She has a background, I believe she was in intelligence and with a financial background, investments in real estate, things like that. And the third guy is David Williams. I don't know that much about him, but he apparently used to work for the CIA. They're all relatively center to right candidates. Nobody's really extreme or anything. I guess you could say Bert Misusawa is probably the most Trumpy of the three of them because he was an advisor to Donald Trump. He's a retired two-star Army general, West Point graduate. He knows how the game is played. But anyway, he's probably has the most name recognition. But anyway, those are the three in the primary, and whomever wins goes against Mark Warner. He's a Democrat incumbent. He said he would only run 2 terms, but he's seeking a fourth. He's been there a little bit too long. It's time for him to go. But odds are it's a Democrat state we live in, so he's probably still going to win. But it'd be nice to get him and Tim Kaine out of there, but we can't get rid of Tim Kaine until 2030. Ugh. But nevertheless, as far as I am aware, there are no libertarians or independents in the race. But the general election's in November. This is just a primary. And so whomever wins that goes against him. That's statewide. And in Virginia, we don't register by party. So everybody is unaffiliated or independent because you can vote in whatever primary you want. If there's a Republican primary or a Democrat primary, any voter, you can cross over and vote in it. That's completely your choice. You just can't vote in both. In my district, which is the fifth, it's represented by John McGuire, former Navy SEAL. I actually met the man twice, talked to him briefly. He's a fairly Trumpy Republican. He's a freshman incumbent. He used to be in the state House of Delegates. So he just got elected to Congress in 2024. I didn't move into his district until after the election, so I couldn't vote for or against him back then. But my district is having a Democrat and a Republican primary for the U.S. House, 5th District. There is a woman named Melanie Lucero. I actually met her too. I met her and her husband. She's running for Congress. Basically, she's fairly Trumpy too, but she's running against McGuire in the primary from his right. So she's definitely the underdog, but she used to be a Marine. She's a tough woman. I believe she's a pilot, and she works in real estate for her living, and she owns a small business. So she's kind of a grassroots type. I believe she's from a little bit north of here. Actually, no, she's from Louisa. So she's east of me, where she's from. But I actually met her in Albemarle County. She came to a function that the Virginia Citizens Defense League had, and I thought it was pretty cool that she was trying to get her name out there. And I followed her on Facebook a little bit. But anyway, she's running against John McGuire on the Republican side. So if you go to your polling place today and you get a ballot, they're going to say, do you want a Republican ballot or a Democrat ballot? Now, the election is statewide for Senate, so anybody in Virginia can vote in that. There are many congressional districts where there is not a primary this year, where the candidates are running unopposed. So if that's the case, you're only going to have to choose Senate. But the catch is you can't vote Republican in the U.S. Senate primary and then vote for Democrat in the House primary. You can't do that. It's one or the other. They'll just ask you which ballot you want. But in my district, the 5th, I believe there are 3 Democrats on the ballot one of them is Tom Perriello, who used to be the U.S. representative for the 5th District about 15 years ago. The district has changed a lot. He's trying to make a comeback. He's a typical Virginia Democrat. He's kind of like campaign center but govern left. And there was something he had an appearance at, it looked like it was a post office, probably something to do with criticizing the Trump administration. You would think he's running against Donald Trump, not John McGuire. He's the front runner among the Democrats. But there were some people from the DSA, the Democrat Socialist of America, which they're basically communists. They're a softer form of communist. Communism is kind of like you murder a country. Democratic socialism is kind of like you commit slow suicide. It's kind of a soft, gentler form of it, basically. It's not sustainable. And their main thing is, well, we want more affordability. We want to make things more affordable. But their agenda that they want to do requires tax increases, spending increases, and then subsidies. So I don't see how you can, I'm not Milton Friedman, but I don't see how you make things more affordable by subsidizing them. Yes, it might when you rob Peter to pay Paul, you're going to get the vote of Paul. But nevertheless, a lot of people are dissatisfied with John McGuire, justifiably so in some cases. But, they better be careful what they wish for, because they just might get it. But I thought it was funny that Perriello went to this thing at the post office, and he didn't want the DSA people to be behind him in the photograph. I thought that was kind of funny. He's trying to say, well, I'm not a wacky Democrat. I'm just straight down the middle. I don't think he's as bad as some of the other Democrats, but I'm not going to vote for him. There's no libertarian, there's no independent who's viable in the race. There is a guy who's running as an independent, but I don't even think he's going to be on the ballot in November. I think his name is Chris Register or something like that. I communicated with him on Facebook. He just seems like another leftist. But um, at least he's good at diagnosing a lot of the problems we have. I guess I just part ways with him on his idea for a cure. But nevertheless, it is good to have choices. Okay, I wish we could have elections where we would have a Republican, a Democrat, and a Libertarian, and maybe somebody from the Green Party. Now, those people are, they're a couple cans shy of a six pack, but they deserve to have their voice heard. That they should be included in the debates. You know, it's just it gets frustrating when we're always expected to constantly choose between, um, the lesser of two evils, or we're motivated to vote against the person who's the worst instead of for the person who's better. And that's frustrating. But, you know, I didn't make the rules. I just have to play the game. So that's what they say anyway. But yeah, so if you live in Virginia, and I think some other states are having primaries. I believe Florida has theirs next week. I think there's a Republican primary for governor, and Byron Donalds, who's a member of the U.S. House of Representatives from Florida, is highly favored to be the Republican nominee for governor down there. I don't live in Florida. Sometimes I wish I did, but from what I understand, from what I know about Byron Donalds, he would be a formidable candidate. He's a black man who represents an overwhelmingly white district, and a district that's rather affluent. And he would be a good successor to Ron DeSantis. Now, say what you want about Ron DeSantis, but he's been an effective governor. Florida is thriving as a state. They're pretty good on, they have low taxes, great weather, if you can deal with flying cockroaches. But there's a lot of people moving into the state. They're having a boom, and they're very good, on no state income tax, no personal property tax. It costs a lot less to live there than it does much of California or New York. You don't have to shovel sunshine in wintertime. So, but yeah, he'd be a good successor to Ron DeSantis. I think Ron DeSantis is probably going to be on the short list of candidates for the Republican nomination in 2028. I think if the Trump administration causes the midterms to go south, I think J.D. Vance might not end up being the nominee in 2028. Or he just might decide, you know what, I've had enough. I've got a baby at home. I'm going to take care of business that way. So the vice president isn't always going to be the de facto nominee. I think Marco Rubio, he's kind of grown on me a little bit. I never liked the guy that much, but he handles himself very well in front of the media. I think he's a competent man. Do I agree with him on every issue? No, but they could do worse. A DeSantis Rubio ticket would probably be just as formidable as Newsom and Shapiro. I see people saying that AOC is coming out number one among Democrats to be the candidate. I don't see that happening. I think the party apparatchiks are going to be like, nah, they sandbag Bernie Sanders. They'd probably sandbag her too. I think the dark horse on the Democrat side might be Mark Kelly, the astronaut. Notice how he's been pretty quiet lately. I think he's wetting his finger and sticking it up in the air and seeing which way the wind blows. Another one to watch out for on the Democrat side is Andy Beshear, governor of Kentucky. He's another one who can campaign center but govern left. So we've got some interesting times ahead. But anyway, it's an election day in Virginia. Go out, make your voice heard. Your vote counts more in a primary election than it does in a general election because turnout is lower. I'm not one to advocate sabotage, but if you're a Democrat, vote in a Republican primary and vote for the person you think would be easiest for the Democrat to beat. If you're a Republican, cross over and vote in the Democrat Party for the person you think is easiest for the Republican to beat. I mean, both parties do it to each other. That's why so often in Virginia, the parties will have a convention or a caucus instead of a primary. But, we live in some interesting times. But all I can say is no matter what kind of day you've had, when you get home and there's 4 legs and a wagging tail is very good therapy. And it doesn't matter, what your political preferences are. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter your sexual preference or anything like that. There's something about a dog that's like really cool. And we don't want to have our own dog, at least not yet. We got a lot of things we want to do before we get to that point, but it's fostering a dog. If you can do it, it's a rewarding experience. Yes, I'm going to tell you it's hard when they go back. You have a dog for 2 weeks, you kind of get attached to it, but it's for the greater good. And if you can take a dog that has issues and, you can make them so that they can love and trust humans again, or you can give up part of your home to get some puppies. And let me tell you, puppies are smelly. They're noisy. They're demanding. They pee and poop all over everything. You have to keep them contained. You got to change out the puppy pads a lot. But when you see those little faces and that wagging tail, it's really hard to stay angry at them. But those little beagles, we only had them two weeks in one day. And let me tell you, they grew a lot. Those little fatties put on some weight. And they started to get their little vocal cords are starting to work. Instead of just chirping, they were, when they'd see their mom or they knew it was dinner time, they started making noise. And the mom is a very quiet beagle, if there is such a thing, except when my wife left to go up the road about 20 minutes. She started howling, but that didn't last more than a couple minutes. She's kind of settled down, trying to get her to warm up to me. She's still a little afraid of me. I know I look scary, but she'll come around. Anyway, that's enough for today. Just if you live in Virginia, we keep electing people you don't like, at least you can say, hey, I voted, I tried. But anyway, I hope everybody has a good day. Peace.